All right, kindergartners and first graders, hopefully you tune into this lesson. All of you kindergartners should have finished one of these pages earlier in the year. And I dropped a couple off at your house before the lesson so you could review it and do it again. But today, remember I told you we were going to read this book, Shapes Around the World. And it's by Becky Ward. This is to review our geometrical solids, or our geometric solids that we reviewed last week. Okay, it's called Shapes Around the World. Here's our table of contents. As I said, it's by Becky Ward. She's the author. Here's our table of contents. Shapes all around. Flat shapes, solid shapes, prisms, cubes, pyramids, cones, cylinders, spheres, finding shapes, and the glossary. So that's going to be like a little mini dictionary with words in it and their meanings of the words that were in the book. We haven't talked about a glossary before. All right, let me read while you watch. Shapes all around. The world around you is full of shapes. This book you're reading has a shape like a rectangle, and cars and bicycles have tires with circle shapes. In fact, everything you see has some kind of shape. Buildings with unusual shapes are so interesting that people like to take pictures of them. Some people even make food with interesting shapes. It's hard to imagine a world without shapes. Let's take a look at buildings and objects around the world with some very interesting shapes. Flat shapes. Have you ever drawn different shapes on paper, such as circles, squares, triangles, and rectangles? You make them by drawing lines. You use curved lines to draw circles and ovals. You use straight lines to draw shapes like squares, rectangles, and triangles. You can see these shapes all around you. Take a look. When you look at buildings in your town, you may see that windows and doors have rectangle and square shapes. Some windows may even have circle shapes. Trace the flat shapes in these pictures with your finger. Well, you could do that on this, or you could do it in your geometry notebook. Let's keep going. Solid shapes. Ooh, I take it back. Has anybody ever been to the round window downtown that you can get up and sit inside of? That might be fun to do. I'll give you a hint. It's on Austin Avenue. All right, solid shapes. We call shapes that you can pick up or touch solid shapes. Solid shapes have thickness and can be things like boxes, balls, toy blocks, or ice cream cones. We make solid shapes from squares, circles, triangles, and rectangles that are connected in special ways. What's the difference between a rectangle and a box? A box is really many rectangles put together. We call the flat surfaces of a solid faces. We name solid shapes for the kind of faces they have. Remember how we named them? This is a face. This is a face, and this is a face. We named it when we named our geometric solids. Prisms. A prism is a solid shape that is like a cardboard box. It has the same flat shape at the top and the bottom, and always has straight sides. There are different kinds of prisms, including rectangular and triangular prisms. A rectangular prism has flat rectangles on its top and bottom. A triangular prism has flat triangle shapes at the top and bottom. This building has the shape of a triangular prism. That's right, because it's a triangle on the top, and it would have to be a triangle on the bottom. You may see a lot of rectangles or even squares on the sides of a prism. Find and count the rectangles in this picture. How many are there? These buildings are all rectangular prisms. Can you count them? There's one. There's another one. Here's one. Here's one. Here's one. Here's one. Here's one. Well, we know there's one on top. We know there's one on top. We can't tell if this is a rectangle, but it probably is. It's probably not a triangle, so there's one on top. There's one, and there's one, and probably one on top. Cubes. A cube is a solid shape that has 6 square faces. This means that all the faces are exactly the same size, so a cube looks like a toy block. This house was made in the shape of a cube by builders. The roof, the floor, and the walls are all squares. This adobe house has the shape of a cube, except that its corners are a little bit rounded. This building has the shape of a cube. Imagine living in a house that rests on one point. Because all of the windows are glass, sunlight shines inside and heats the building. This cube rests on one point. Wow. Pyramids. A pyramid is a solid shape with a square face on the bottom and a point at the top. The sides of a pyramid are flat triangle faces. First grade, if you didn't watch last week's kindergarten geometric solid review lesson, why don't you go back and do that, because then this will make sense to you. I mean, it makes sense, but it'll just give you more information. Thousands of years ago, people made large pyramids out of rock. It took more than 2 million giant stones to build one pyramid. Let's close in on that and see if we can see one of the giant stones. Wow. I don't know. Can we make it focus? Wow. People built pyramids thousands of years ago. Even though the stone blocks were very heavy, the workers had to move and stack the stones to create the 4 triangles and 1 square they needed for this shape. Because of all this hard work, the pyramids have lasted a very long time. There's the square base, and here are the triangle faces. The square face and the triangle faces, but it rests on a base, so we call it the base, the square base pyramid. Looks like my phone may run out, so this video may stop in the middle. There's a pyramid in Mexico that looks different than other pyramids. A long time ago, people built this pyramid with a flat top instead of a point. It had sides with steps rather than smooth sides like other pyramids. This is one shape that you can climb. And believe me, Miss Kathy, has climbed this pyramid. There's the Great Pyramid in Mexico City and several other pyramids. These steps are so steep. It's very hard to walk up, but this is huge, and it has grass. I don't know if you can see growing on those. And this is called a step pyramid. In ancient times, other cultures built step pyramids, not just in Mexico, not Central American cultures only. We'll learn about that later in history, not this coming year, but the year after. This building looks like a tall, thin pyramid because it is an office building where people work. It has a lot of windows, but it still has a square bottom and triangles on its sides. This is considered a modern pyramid. Sorry if my phone is moving all over. All right, cones. Shapes can have curved lines too. A cone is a flat circle shape at the bottom and a point at the top. Next time you eat an ice cream cone, feel the sides. You will notice that they are rounded. From the side, a cone looks like a triangle. This tent has the shape of a cone. It sure does. These houses have roofs with the shape of cones. People made the roofs with small stones. Go close. Can you see those stones making the roof? And it looks like a cone. There are many shapes like this in all kinds of different cultures. Cylinders. A cylinder is a solid shape that has a circle at the bottom and another one at the top. It has rounded sides too, so that it has the shape of a long tube, just like a can of vegetables or these noodles. See, there are the noodles. There's the cylinder. Builders use cylinders we call columns to hold up parts of a building. How many columns can you count on this building? I'm going to let you count for a minute, or you could pause the video. This looks like the Capitol building in Washington, D.C., or the Capitol the courthouse downtown in Waco. Why don't you look for columns on other buildings you might see? Cylinders. This building has the shape of a cylinder. It has more than 1,000 lights all over it. Every time the wind changes, computers light up different ones. People enjoy watching this beautiful light show. That almost looks like an ellipse shape rather than a cylinder, but I guess if you look at it right here, it shows that it's a cylinder. Wow, I do not know where that building is in the world. I'll have to look it up. Spheres. Another solid shape is a sphere. Soccer balls and basketballs are spheres. Spheres do not have any faces. It is hard to make a building in this shape, but builders can make a roof from a sphere cut in half. This is called a dome. Can you picture what a ball would look like cut in half? Well, of course you can. This building has many roofs with dome shapes. Take a look. We also call it a hemisphere, or a half of a sphere. We call half of our Earth a hemisphere. The Eastern Hemisphere and the Western Hemisphere. You've heard those words before here at school. This building looks like a sphere, but it has a flat bottom. If you look closely, you can see that it has hundreds of little glass triangles on it. The special design of this building uses the sun to heat the inside. This building has a top with a sphere shape. You can see, but it has a flat bottom. All right. We are almost done. Hopefully my phone is going to hang in. Finding shapes. Next time you walk around your town, look at all the shapes around you. All around the world, shapes on a building, in a store, or even in your backyard are fun shapes to see. How many shapes can you find in this city? Does that look familiar? Does that look like the city of Dallas? Oops. It may be another city. It might be San Antonio, or it could be in the state of Washington, Seattle. I'll have to see if I can figure that out, what city skyline that is. But you can see lots of different shapes here, can't you? And geometric solids. All right, here's our last part, the glossary. And like I said, it gives the names, the words, kind of like a dictionary, and it gives the definition of them. So I'm going to read this, and we will be done. A cone, solid shape with a circle at the bottom and a point at the top. Cube, solid shape with 6 square faces. Cylinder, solid tube with a circle at the top and bottom. Prism, solid shape that has rectangle or triangle faces. Pyramid, solid shape with a square bottom and a point at the top. Sphere, solid shape that looks like a ball. All right, we've done it. See if you can find some shapes around you, kindergarten and first graders, and text me a picture. Or you can do a Marco Polo to the group. But that's what we want you to do on Marco Polo. Show us some of the work that you've been doing and help somebody else learn something. Okay, bye.